Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jennifer Arcuri channel. We are doing a special live discussion tonight with Mr. Pete Stone of the Sovereign Project. He was placed on my radar from one of you guys, so thank you very much. And I reached out, as I told you I would, and we have now booked a date. He is, I guess, sold out with a standing ovation or a waiting room, I believe, on your Thursday night shows. Am I wrong there, Pete?
Yes, we hold a Thursday workshop. We call it the Sovereign Workshop. We go over quite a lot of information. It's a 22-week course. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll have a good understanding of what's going on and how to defend yourself. So, but yeah, we've had some busy nights. We've had standing room only sometimes as well, which is good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So again, we'll make a plug now and then we'll plug you in again for those that want to attend. Is there a live stream version?
Well, we're getting asked that a lot actually about Zooms. People want to do Zooms, and because obviously there's a lot of people who don't live in Leicester. That's why I live in Leicester, England. So a lot of people can't make it, and there's a lot of people live in other countries. So what we've done is on the website, which is thesovereignproject.live. If you're interested and you'd like to do some weekly Zooms, if you want to register your interest, and if we get enough people who say they want to do it, then we'll set it up, and then we'll do an evening once a week, and we'll get that done. But I just want to make sure there's enough people who want to do it. If enough people want to do it, I'll do it.
Okay, nice. Sounds exciting. Well, maybe we can tell everybody about it and what we can do on those Zooms moving forward tonight. But I mean, I particularly resonated with you listening to you on a few podcasts where you were talking about, ultimately this is just a restoration of your rights. And, no one was able to take them away to begin with, but yet here we are inside this system.
Yes.
I love your death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, because that's one of my mantras on this channel. I mean, I'm just saying, we just stand there and we keep going and we keep going. I mean, this is the best way, to kind of stand in the resilience to fight back against this. Even if we don't know exactly how to do it, which I'm hoping you shed some light on, but this is how I've been, for example, for the last few weeks, we've been very concerned about this WHO treaty and working with the UK citizen, a lady named Jane wrote these, letters for everybody to use, these templates, and we sent them. Yeah. And I'm very proud of our channel because, we were there. Like, who cares if you ignore me? I'm just going to send it again. Okay. And you give me a yes answer back. Well, that's just you who's just buried themselves, who's not done their research. Those denying the World Government Summit. Hello, how asleep can you possibly be? It's right there on their website. It's one thing if it's like, world governments, but plural, but here we are, one singular, and that was not a mistake. So, this is why this week, you have come up perfectly in, my very calculated threads that I've put, because I want to, put a little more into this concept around sovereignty and how we restore that. So you talk about lawful versus legal. You've mentioned various types of laws and the validity around them. I love what you say about policy versus law and a little bit about the police officers. I love what you say about the law doesn't come from someone else. And first and foremost, what I love, just the way you spoke, look, this is about freedom and not about egos. And we can attack all the other issues after we reclaim our freedoms. And so this, when everyone's like, what do we do? How do we fight back? All these crazy things are happening. Well, the reality is we just have to stop complying, right? We have to be able to stand resiliently together. No, we're not doing that. So that's why I was really it was really awesome to be able to connect with you and welcome you here tonight. So thank you.
Anytime, not a problem. But yes, you've got to understand what the system is before you can play the game, and you've got to treat it like a game. I think that's a better way to do it. Yes, there's a lot there. Let's decide what we're going to start with. Let's start with rights, okay? this is where a lot of people are going wrong. They believe that the government, by the way, government doesn't exist, it's a legal fiction, but people believe the government gives you your rights. Now, if you have that mindset, you've already lost that game. No point playing. So there was a lot of people panicking over the Human Rights Act recently because they were changing it. You know, the European Union were changing it and all this sort of stuff, and people were panicking and going, oh, we've got to protest and all the rest of it. I don't know. My rights do not come from the European Human Rights Act. Okay, my rights do not come from someone else's bit of paperwork. My rights can't even be written down. They're mine. So that's the first thing people have got to learn. Your rights are inherent to you. You can say that they come from God. You can say they're God-given rights if you wish. It's not a problem. Everyone has the right to do that. But you've got to start with that. You've got to understand where your rights come from. And my rights come from me. No one else has the authority to tell me what my rights are. Okay. So you've got to start with that. You've got to start with that. So as soon as you understand this and you realize that your rights come from yourself, then you go, well, why do I care about the Human Rights Act then? I don't. It's got nothing to do with me. It's an act, which means it's acting as law. So it's not even law. It's a piece of paper. It's a bit of legislation. By the way, the word legislation, a good way to understand what legislation is all about. Think of it this way. You've got a bureaucrat who works for a corporation who writes down policy within a ledger, hence legislation. So what's it got to do with me? If I don't work for that corporation, then none of that legislation actually applies to me anyway. And my signature is not on any of it. So you've got to start with that. Now, I know a lot of people are panicking over the WHO and all the rest of it, doing all this, that, the other, and that. I mean, we hear it here in England, you know, Boris Johnson's giving away our sovereignty to the WHO. It's not giving away mine. Boris Johnson does not have a piece of paperwork with my signature on it and his signature on it where I've given him the authority to give away my sovereignty. So you can contact the WHO if you wish, send letters and all the rest of it. It's not a problem. You can do all that, but you've got to understand it. It's just a corporation. That's all it is. And it's got nothing to do with me. I'm not an employee of that corporation. There is no documentation with my signature on it that means that spells out that I've accepted the policy of that corporation. Does not exist. So when you understand everything is basically corporations. Now let's talk about corporations as well. People don't understand this either. A country is a corporation. Okay. People say we live in the UK. No, you don't. The UK is a corporation. Okay. A corporation, by the way, corpse, dead body. It's a dead entity. It only exists on paper. So the UK is a corporation, which means it only exists on paper. It's not the land that we're walking on, all right? In fact, we've got quite a few corporations where we are in England. It all started with England, lowercase England, spelt with the lowercase letters, okay? You've got Kingdom of England. You've got England spelt all uppercase. You've got Great Britain, and you've got UK, United Kingdom. These are all separate jurisdictions and they're all separate corporations. So you've got to be careful what jurisdiction you're actually operating in. So when everybody starts understanding what's going on is that everything is corporate, everything is a corporation, and everything's just a policy, then you can start playing this game. And you go, oh, okay then. So when you understand that corporations don't exist, they're just legal fictions, then all we have left are people, right? Living, breathing men or women. You just got a person. And then you've got to ask yourself, who is it who says I have to pay tax? Who is it who says I have to follow this legislation? Give me a name of that person. Bring that person forth to me now. I want to know who it is, okay? That's what people need to do. Forget legal fictions, forget corporations. Don't deal with them. If you deal with legal fictions and corporations, you will lose this game. Push it to one side. I don't recognize legal fictions. I'll push it to one side. So I always say, who is the one who works for that corporation who's making a claim against me? Bring him forth, or her, I don't care. Show me the documentation that I've signed where the claim that they are making is genuine. Prove to me the obligation. Am I obligated to pay the tax? Am I obligated to follow this legislation? Show me this. It doesn't exist. The only way that I could be obligated is if I've signed a contract with someone else where I've agreed to it. That contract does not exist. So when you understand everything is just corporate, everything is just commerce. We better just touch on commerce as well. People don't understand the difference between commerce and trade. all right? What's going on? Trade is between two living, breathing men or women, okay? Two people can trade money for an item, not a problem. Commerce is between legal fictions, dead entities, corporations, okay? What that means is something written down on a piece of paper. So I can create a corporation written down on a piece of paper, and then someone else can write down a corporation on another bit of paper, and then these two pieces of paper can enter into commerce. Okay, that's what commerce is. So when you understand it's commerce, you understand it's trade, and when you understand that the police only deal in commerce, they don't deal in law. So you go, oh, okay then. So if we're dealing in commerce, then okay, show me the contract. Contract doesn't exist. There are no road laws. All right, a lot of people out there getting hit with speeding fines and all the rest of it, and whatever, you know, whatever, you're not wearing your seatbelt, blah, 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 whatever it is, they don't exist. Those road laws don't exist, and nor will they ever exist, okay? It's always a contract, and the police officer is trying to enter into commerce with you, so you'll contract, and you'll just pay him a lot of money. So that's what's really going on. Anything else you want to ask me?
Well, okay, so just on that note, so if a police officer issues you a law, it's, you know, a citation for speeding or not wearing a seatbelt, how do you fight against that?
Yes, well, you treat it as a trade, all right? Here's what's going on. This is what the policeman is not telling you. What we're going to do is distinguish between a police officer and a constable, all right? Two different jobs, same person, same uniform, two different jobs. Like one's an electrician, one's a plumber. So in this country, we have PC. One says police officer and the C is constable. The constable deals in law. The police officer deals in commerce. So the way to handle it is to know what's going on. We have documentation on the website. People can download that. It goes into great detail about police and how to talk to them. There's a script on there as well. There's questions you can ask. So one of the things you've got to understand is what's going on. Let's just touch on the birth certificate very quickly. When you were born, don't need to go into a great deal of detail here, but when you were born, a corporation was created, okay, and that was your birth certificate. A lot of people think that certificate is the day that you were born, physically born. No, that's the creation of your corporation, all right? So throughout your life, this, sometimes it's called a straw man, is attached to you. That's your corporation. The police officer can only deal with that corporation, that birth certificate, okay? That's all he can deal with. He can't deal with you, the living, breathing. So what these policemen are doing is they're tricking you. It's actually called legal entrapment, because they were supposed to tell you that they want to enter into commerce with your corporation. They don't do this, okay? They'll trick you into entering joinder. They'll ask you questions and you'll start answering them. And then you're entering into joinder with them, which is like entering into a contract. And now you've agreed. And now you're in trouble. And now you're going to have to pay him. If you don't pay him, then what's going to happen is he's going to take your car and all the rest of it. So very quickly, what you need to do is if you get pulled over, control the conversation, okay? If you get pulled over, the very first thing you should do is never assume anything. In fact, that's what you should start doing on everything. Don't assume anything. Paperwork that's sent to you, whatever, do not assume. This is how the people behind the government actually trap you, because you make assumptions, all right? So you see someone in a uniform, it might even say police on it, although it doesn't actually say police because it's written in all caps, but that's another thing. Don't assume he's a policeman. It could be a male stripper. You don't know. So he walks up to the side of the car and goes, okay, who are you? Treat him like a complete stranger. You don't know who he is. All right. So he starts saying he's a policeman. Oh, right. Okay. So you're identifying as a policeman. Is that what you're doing? Okay, great. I want to see your identification. I want to see your warrant card. So you control the situation. I need to see it now. Now, what a warrant card is proof of oath. So every constable, not a police officer, but every constable has sworn an oath. It'll be different depending on what country you live in. But here in England or the UK corporation, our constables swear an oath to the Queen. Okay, they are the Queen's constables. Okay, so he swears an oath, and he swears an oath to uphold the law and to protect your rights. So you go, I want to see that warrant card. Great, fantastic. You've got the warrant card. Next question you ask him, you should turn around and say, okay, are you working under your oath today? I want to know, are you working under your oath? If he says yes, He's a constable. He's now working under that oath. He's now dealing with law. He's not dealing in commerce. So now you know this, you can now switch the conversation. It says, okay, can you tell me the crime that's been committed? Now, here's the thing, everyone, you've got to learn your language. This is how these people behind government entrap you with language, with words. People don't understand the meaning behind words, so you've got to use the words correctly. So when you're talking to a constable, you use the word crime, right? Not offense. Offense is within a contract, okay? Don't deal in offenses. I deal in crimes. So you ask him, okay, can you tell me the crime that's been committed? He's got a problem now. Because if he starts saying things like, oh, you're not wearing your seatbelt. Oh, right, okay, can you tell me the name of the victim then? he's in a serious, he's in a mess. Remember, if there's a true crime, there has to be a victim. If there's no victim, then no law has been broken and no crime has been committed. So what you've done is you've taken that person who's wearing a uniform, you pushed him away as being a policeman. He's not a policeman anymore. He's a constable. We're dealing with law. And then you can control the situation. But there's a script on my page, download it. It goes into great detail. It asks some other questions, and then that's it. You can you terminate the conversation. You can just say to him, okay, you're dismissed, bye-bye, and you can drive on. But do not answer questions. That's how they do it.
Can I just ask, with the differences you were saying about between the commerce and the law aspect, sure. I remember, gosh, 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, reading a piece on how, and seeing actually on Companies House, how senior police officers were in charge of fines companies and things like that relating to offences. Can you corroborate that? Is
absolutely correct? Yes, that was all blown wide open. Okay, because absolutely correct. So what's going on? You got to understand that every single police station out there, police department, is a private corporation for profit. Their one thing is all they want to do is make money. Okay, so that's what all the fines are about. There's a bit more to it than just the fines themselves. Because what's actually going on is, yes, they fine you for speeding, £60 fine, £100 fine, whatever it is, $100, whatever it is. That's chicken feed. Because actually what's going on is that speeding ticket that you sign is not a speeding ticket. It's not even written in English. It's actually, simplify it, layman's terms. It's basically an acceptance or a bond, acceptance of a bond. So what's going on is that speeding ticket will be securitized. So this gives the police, again, layman's terms, the police the ability to enter into your trust and take tens of thousands of pounds out of there. So the fine itself, the £100, whatever, $100, that's nothing. That after the money in your trust fund, this is the money that they make. But yes, that's all over the internet now. The game is up. That's what the police are about, just making money. And the senior police, the superintendents and all the rest of it, most of them, if not all, are Masons. I believe they're 22-degree Masons, possibly. They all know what's going on. They're all part of the justice system. The justice system, or the courts, is actually a bank. People don't know that. And it's all tied into the Sester KV Trust. So anyway, yes, that's what's going on. So the PCs probably don't know what they're doing. They're just told to go out and get as many tickets as possible. They have a quota. So every policeman says you've got to get so many tickets a day or whatever. That's what they do. They give people tickets for speeding, seatbelts, blah, 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 whatever they can think of, you know. But yeah, it backfired back in 2020 though, because of so we can say COVID-19 on this channel, can't we? We're not going to get censored and anything like that. I try and avoid certain words in case this is going on YouTube and gets taken down. But a lot of people, a lot of policemen were actually issuing COVID-19 tickets to people because they were in their homes, they were out in their gardens, that sort of stuff. Okay, but what was happening is the people were challenging it. So they went to court and they says, hang on a minute, the legislation doesn't even apply. The legislation is not even valid. So what was happening is the magistrates realized the scam. They had to give everyone the money back. So they got rid of the tickets. It says, okay, fair enough, you won this case. Well, what happened was that meant that the police officer or the superintendent, they were on the hook for that amount of money. So they had to pay it. So what ended up happening is all these senior police superintendents and people at the very senior top part of all these corporations, they sent out a memo to all the PCs, don't do any more COVID-19 tickets because it's costing them a fortune. But that's all they did. The police just there making money. That's it. It's out now. Secret is out.
How have they been able to get away with putting themselves in these director positions? I suppose because we haven't been looking, and I mean, is it kind of a hereditary thing? It passes on to the next one. They all kind of filter in and take over and make this bit of money on the side. I mean, it's disgraceful.
Got to be part of the club. That's why it's all Masonic. You've got to be within the Masons. You work your way up. You know someone. You get the golden handshake. Boom, you get the job. It's all inside stuff. Again, everything I talk about, it's all out there. It's all on the internet. It can be easily researched. It's not difficult. But yeah. It's a big club.
And this is what we find most frustrating, Jennifer, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter how much we put out and all the links, and people can go to their websites, to Companies House, and look at all of this. People still go, and it's there.
It's there. Parliament is a company. It's a corporation. In this UK corporation, Parliament has a Duns number. So in this, Duns number, you've got Dun and Bradstreet, I believe it is. Number. So every corporation, every company is registered with Duns and Bradstreet, and then they get given a Duns number. Parliament has one. The game's up. So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we should send letters to the politicians. We should petition the politicians." I go, "Why? That is a private corporation. It's nothing to do with you. It's a facade. It's a distraction." That's what Parliament is. Parliament is a Punch and Judy box, if you like. It's a soap opera. That's it. It's all it is. It has no real power. Okay. It's just a corporation designed to waste our time. So we will petition and write letters and all the rest of it to MPs. But that's how it works. But look it up. And by the United States of America, that's one giant corporation. It has a president.
Okay, so then how do you suggest people make a move then?
Yeah. Now, this is how we've got to do it. You have to understand what's going on. You've got to understand that the people behind the government, okay? By the way, this was explained in the film Wizard of Oz. So there's a lot of information in there. They were nodding to you. They were telling you this. Oh, by the way, this is a thing. The people behind the system, okay? There are two constants. Every time I research something, there's two constants all the time. I don't know whether it's something to do with the universe or whatever it is. Two things. Number one, they cannot force you to do anything. They require your consent before they can act on everything, everything. Doesn't matter what you research. Going to prison, you have to consent to that. So they require your consent. And now here's the other one. Universal constant. No matter what I research, I find this every stage of the game, all the time. They have to tell you what they're doing. And they do. They don't come out and talk to you in straight English, but they will tell you. And one of the ways they do it is they'll put it into films. One of them was The Wizard of Oz. So they're telling you. So they put the straw man in there. That's the scarecrow. Okay. You've got the tin man. All right. That's the tax identity number. You got the lion, cowardly lion. That's the government. The people behind government are cowards, right? They have to be given a title to be feeling, so they feel empowered. And that's what the cowardly lion gets. Okay, so they're telling you. But the thing about the end of that film, they're telling you, everyone's terrified of the Wizard of Oz. So you get there, the end scene, right? You've got the big booming smoke, the flames, all this sort of stuff. There's the hologram and the voice. Ooh, everyone's scared and all the rest of it, okay? Here's the thing. Don't look at that. Pull the curtain back. I want to know the guy who's pulling levers. So government doesn't exist. That's what they were telling you in that scene, in that film. So now here's the thing. The people behind the government, what they actually want you to do, they are begging you. They want you to protest and petition and do all this. They want you to do it. This is one of the reasons why these politicians do outlandish things, especially doing it now. They're outwardly having wild parties and they're lying and all the rest of it. They're doing it to rise you up so you get angry. So you go, right, I'm going to have to do something. I've got to get on the phone. I'm going to petition. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go down 10 Downing Street and I am going to do a pitchfork and we're going to kick the door. No, that's not how we win this game. Okay. You win this game by turning around and saying, you know what? Government doesn't even exist. Do what you want. I don't care. I'm not interested. Doesn't affect me. I don't play that game. I'm not even in that jurisdiction. Bye-bye. Go away. This is how you learn this lesson when you're a kid, when you're at school, right? Bullies. How do bullies operate? Through fear, right? So everyone's scared of the bully until you punch him in the face and he falls flat on his arse, and then you're not frightened of him anymore, right? And yeah, that's an actual story that happened to me when I was like 6 years old. So this is how you do it. Government doesn't exist. Forget it. All right, push it away. Not interested. So what I do, or what I've been doing over years, is looking for the Achilles heel. Okay. So what you do is you go after the stuff that the government's not even looking at. You go after the weak stuff. Now, the government or the people behind government are bluffing on everything. Everything is a bluff. Okay. There is no debt. A lot of people think they've got a mortgage. No, you don't. Everyone thinks, a lot of people out there have got student loans. No, you don't. You're the creditor. When enough people wake up to this and realize there is no debt, okay, you are the creditor, there's going to be a stampede of people. So you go after the weak stuff. So things like in this country, we have a TV license. No, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Don't even watch the TV. So you go after the weak stuff. You start challenging things in your life personally. Okay, that's your little battleground. Don't try and take on the massive government out there. It doesn't even exist, but you'll lose. And the pressure would be enormous because you're trying to take it all onto your shoulders. You go, oh my God, we've got to fight the government. We've got to do this. They're doing the Human Rights Act. They're doing all this. Blah, 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 blah. No. So you turn away. I said, I'm not playing this game anymore. Thank you very much. Now that I know we have council tax in this country, now that I know that the council is a private corporation and it only enters into commerce, I can terminate that agreement. Thank you. I don't want to do the council tax anymore. Thank you very much. Terminated. So when people wake up and realize you don't need a driver's license, when people wake up, I mean, I was trying to get this information out to the truckers. We all had the convoy truckers and all the rest of it and all that, which tip my hat off to them. Well done. Great. You know, sentiment's great. If you really want to hurt the people behind government, what you do is you take the number plate or the license plate off that vehicle, send it back to the government. Say, I don't need it anymore. Thank you very much. This is the weakness of the system. You don't need a driver's license. You don't need a license plate. You don't need a passport. Tax is voluntary. Okay. None of this legislation applies to you. So you say, no, thank you. Offer decline. Offer decline. You got to get your language right. Never say no. Never say, I'm not going to pay. That's the wrong terminology. You'll end up in prison. This is how these people operate. The people behind government, they can only act against you if you consent. Remember that. So they all use language against you. So they'll try and hit you with a tax bill. If you turn around and say, I'm not going to pay, then in their eyes, what you've just done is you've accepted the obligation. All right. So you've now accepted the obligation to pay, but you've now decided not to pay. So now you're in breach of contract. Now they can act. And now the policy enforcers can come to your house. That's how it works. So a lot of people are panicking over this legislation and acts and statutes and all the rest of it. Like, if you don't pay tax, this is what is going to happen to you. And they panic and say, oh, look, it says so. I have to pay it. No, 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 no. Learn how to read. Learn how to read. They're saying, if you don't pay it, you'll go to prison. Well, I'm saying I'm not going to pay it. What I say is, can you show me the obligation? Right? So you say, am I obligated to pay? It's the burden of proof is on them. Don't make this, oh, I'm not going to pay, because that's how they get you. Okay. So it's always an obligation. So this is what we do at the Thursday night thing. Okay. It is a mindset thing. Okay. I get it. It's just a way. It's like I'm training up martial arts. All right. I'm just trying to train you up. So this is what we do on the Thursday night workshop. It's a different way of thinking. When you become sovereign, by the way, sovereign, you can't fake this. You will know when it happens to you. You'll wake up one morning, you will know that you are sovereign, right? Because when you become sovereign, you will challenge everything, right? You'll say, who has the right to tell me what to do? It's like this, everyone's panicking over their credit rating. Right? I had a conversation with someone the other day. Well, if I don't pay my utilities, blah, 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 that's going to damage my credit rating. Well, you're not sovereign then, are you? Because if you're sovereign, you'll say, who the hell has decided that they're going to take my information, my data, and then give me a credit rating? Who is this person? I want to know. Bring him forth now. How dare they give me a credit rating? Did I give them authority to give me a credit rating? Don't think so. So I want to know who it is. Bring him forth now. I want to see him. That's when you start doing that, you are now sovereign at that point. Now you've got the right frame of mind. Sovereigns, we don't complain. We tell you how it is. All right. We hit you with a claim. All right. That's how it works. I don't petition. I don't beg. That's what petitions are. Please, sir, don't beat me up. No. No. I'll hit you with a claim. All right. I'll say, where's the obligation? Where are you getting the authority from? So it's a mindset thing. It's a language thing. Don't get caught up in, I'm not going to pay. Or don't be defiant in that way. For example, if you go to the airport and they're saying, oh, you've got to do a quarantine, blah, 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 blah. Do not say, I'm not going to do it. Why not? Because if you say that, you've accepted the obligation that you should be doing it. That's not how you use your language correctly. So instead, you turn it around and say, hang on a minute, am I obligated? Now they're trapped, okay? Because you're not. If you're not obligated. So a lot of the things that I try and teach people is the two core areas. It's always offer decline. Treat everything as an offer. Parking tickets, all the rest of it, speeding tickets, no thank you, offer decline. So if you get a parking ticket or a speeding ticket, it's an offer. They're offering you, would you, it's like the police will send you a speeding ticket and they say, would you like to pay us some money? No, thank you. Offer declined. Send it back. That's the mindset you need to be in, right? You've got to be superior. You've got to be above the system. You've got to look down at the system. Remember, anyone with a title, anyone, doesn't matter if it's prime minister or president or the Pope or the Queen, does not matter what that title is. If they have a title, they have a lower status than you. Remember, sovereign is a status, it's not a title. All right, it's a status. Right? If you give yourself a title, you're now lower than me. So it's a mindset thing, but it's always offer decline. And if someone's coming at you, show me the obligation and where are you getting the authority from? Remember, there's only one authority, that's yours. That's it. So for someone to have an authority over you, you have to give your authority to them. And you go, I don't remember giving you authority over me. So how do you get off telling me I've got to wear a seatbelt or whatever it is? So it's a mindset thing, right? So you should get irate. You should get angry, right? And then you get away from the legal fictions. Corporations, don't deal with corporations, okay? I don't deal with complaints departments, all right? I want to know who it is. Give me a name. Give me a name of the person who's making the claim against me. If that name does not come forth, well, then there's no name, there's no claim. And this is the reason why I keep saying that the system is so fragile. It's unbelievably fragile. Everyone's panicking and living in fear. And I'm going, no, this entire system is probably 2,500 years old. But they've all been hiding. These evil people, these bullies, these weak, cowardly people, they have been hiding behind a legal fiction called government or DVLA or other corporate names, all right, or the police. That's another legal fiction, all right? Get rid of the legal fiction. Get rid of the corporation. I only deal with living, breathing men or women. Give me a name. There were only people on this planet. That's it. There were no gods. There were no superheroes telling us what to do. There were only people, and we're all equal. So if there's one person out there saying that I have to have a driver's license, I go, hang on a minute, where do you get the authority from saying I've got to have a driver's license? Remember what a license means, by the way. It means asking permission. That's what a license is. That's all it is. And then you understand, see, people are getting marriage licenses. I'm going, why are you getting a marriage license? If there's two people getting married, there's like a man and a woman, and they've asked each other and they've both said yes, then who are you asking with this marriage license? You're asking the state. It's a legal fiction. And I'm going, so you're asking something that doesn't exist, and you're asking them permission to get married. Crazy person. And of course, actually what's going on is that you're not actually getting married. You're entering into a corporate merger. This is the reason. So you get a marriage license. So you're asking the state, can the man and the woman, can they get married? But what's actually going on is it's the surnames, which are corporate names. By the way, your last name, the surname's not yours. It's not, doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Vatican, by the way. Okay. So don't use surnames. Use family names or house names, but don't use surnames. So what they're doing is you do a license, marriage license, and you're asking the state, can we merge these two corporations together? And it's a three-way marriage. It's a three-way corporate merger. Technically, what you've just done is married the state. And then what the state will do is they will take your marriage certificate. I mean, here's another thing. Marriage certificate. Isn't it? There's only two people who can absolutely certify that they've been married. And that's the man and the woman, isn't it? So they're the only two people who can actually issue a certificate if a certificate is required. But the certificate comes from the government. How can they certify that you've been married? And of course, it's got nothing to do with that. So they'll get this marriage certificate and they securitize it. They turn it into a financial instrument, okay? And it's worth hundreds of thousands. Some people say it's worth in the multiple millions, okay? So what will happen is your marriage certificate will be bought and sold on the stock market, in the debt market, over and over again, millions and millions of times. And then what will happen throughout your entire life, all that tax that you pay is paying the interest on that bond. And you're not even married. You've just entered into a corporate merger. So if you actually want to truly get married, by the way, if you know, forget the marriage license, forget the marriage certificate, that's a corporate merger. Don't use the legal system. If you truly want to get married, like the living, breathing, okay, man and woman, there's two ways of doing it. One, in the olden days, it used to be written down in the family Bible, because the way it used to be done is all families had their own unique Bible, and in their Bible, certain issues were written down, important events, marriages, divorces, births, deaths. So it would be in the Bible, okay? Another way would be you use an affidavit of marriage. So you self-marry. So you'd create an affidavit of marriage. So that would be the man and the woman, they would do whatever it is, their vows, whatever they've decided, it would be in that affidavit. You'd get it witnessed by at least two people. You'd file it with the courts. It's supposed to be a court of law, but we won't get into that. File it with the courts, and that's it. After 30 days, it's law. You've married yourself. You put it into an affidavit. And if you wish to create certificates, then it's the married couple that create the certificates. It's not the state. But yeah, I mean, people just don't know how the system operates because you were born into it. So people just think, oh, that's the way it is. You were born into it and you just think, oh, I need a driver's license. Oh, I pay income tax. Oh, I pay national insurance. Oh, I need a marriage license. I need this, I need that. I have to get permission to build property on my land. If you have to get permission to build on your land, guess what? It's not your land, is it? If it's my land, I can build whatever I want on that. So why am I asking permission? So it's a mindset thing. Start with a mindset. Get your mindset right. Become sovereign. It'll happen to you. All right. This is your own personal journey. I could just point you towards the door. You have to go through the door. But once you become sovereign, you'll know when it happens. Now you've got the right frame of mind. Now you can act. Forget government. Forget all the nonsense. Forget all the distractions that are coming out of social media and all that. Forget it. Shrink the battle down just to your life and just deal with those issues. And you say, you know what? I don't want to deal with council tax or whatever tax you have. I'm not going to deal with that anymore. Thank you, offer declined. I don't want a driver's license. You can have it back. Thank you very much. You see, I don't know what's going on in other countries, but in this country, UK corporation, they're planning on charging us per mile. All right, they want to tax us per mile. That's what they want to do. And a lot of people are panicking. But here's the thing. It's not your car they're taxing. It's the license plate. All right. So let me just touch on a few things. A lot of people don't understand what's going on. We've all heard that Klaus Schwab, he said, you'll own nothing and you will be happy. Yeah, not so sure about the happy part, but he's right about the first part, because no one owns anything now, not legally, all right? Because what's happened is everyone has been brainwashed into registering their homes, their cars, their children, whatever it is, the businesses, right? The thing is with registering, if you register anything, you are giving away property ownership. That's what you've done. So here in this country, we have the DVLA. So what you've done is when you register your car, you've given away the property rights of that car to DVLA. They issue you a license plate. Alarm bells should be ringing straight away because they're calling it a license plate. And what does license mean? Asking permission. So you go, hang on a minute, why do I need a license plate? So they'll put the license plate on that car, which is yours. Now it becomes government property. You've entered into a contract. You've now entered into all the legislation, all the policies that these politicians create. You've accepted it. You've accepted the highway code, all of it, the yellow mark, you know, the 2 yellow lines, the parking tickets, the whole lot. You've accepted the fact that you should be paying tax for that car now. But it's all based on that number plate, the whole lot. So in this country, again, they're saying they want to tax us per mile. So every mile you drive, you're going to be paying tax on it. That's what they want to bring out. It only applies to the license plate. You deregister, you take that license plate off and say, no, thank you, offer declined. Here you go, DVLA. I don't want that license plate anymore. I'm taking my property back. That is now an automobile. It's not a vehicle. A vehicle is a legal term used in commerce. It's an automobile. It's privately owned now. Now, all their policy, DVLA's policy, the government's policy, no longer applies. None of it. They can't bill me per mile. They can't charge me tax on the fuel. They can't charge me tax on the car. It all goes in the bin. It all ends. So this is why I keep telling people the system is so fragile. It's unbelievably fragile. All you've got to do is offer decline. Thank you. Driver's license, don't care. What was it? Justin Trudeau. He was threatening the truckers. If you don't go, you know, if you don't stop doing the convoy, we'll take the driver's licenses away. And I'm going, good, take it. Have it. Here it is. I don't want it anymore. I'm going, please, truckers. I'm like watching it. I'm shouting at the top of my lungs, truckers, give up your driver's licenses, please. You will be out of this prison. It's honestly, if you know how the system actually operates, you'll be laughing. The fear goes away. The fear goes away.
Can we just quickly circle back to mortgages? I know obviously that's going to be a big thing for people. My dad was reading in a book recently, and I can't remember the name of the case, but the case got buried in America, whereby a chap was in court, ready for a repossession of his property. You probably know the story, so just for those who don't. Yeah, and he challenged the bank to say, show me where you had the money to begin with, to be able to loan me the money to begin with in order for you to reclaim the property, because under, is it principles of exchange, something like that? You have to have something to be able to exchange for something in order for the transaction to take place.
Yes.
It can't be done on an IOU, or I didn't have it in the first place. And yeah, the banker said, well, actually, no, we didn't have the money in court. And the guy was, the court had to rule on his side and said, yeah, the house is yours. And bank, sorry, you've lost your money. Oh, it's like $44,000 or something. But how do we stand when it comes to that? Because again, we're all in that same boat. The banks don't have that money. It's done on IOU through to the Bank of England, if they're, or higher up.
Yeah.
And it's
you're right about the contracting. There has to be what is called consideration. So in a contract, there has to be an exchange of goods. or else why would you enter into a contract? All right. So if I'm going to buy something, then I'm going to give some money to that person and they've got to give me something in return. That's consideration. That's why you have a contract. So, but yes, mortgages do not lend out money. Mortgage companies, they do not lend out money, nor do credit card companies. None of them, or car loans, whatever it is, right? So if we've got time, we'll just touch on how the money actually operates, how money works, okay? This is what I was researching for years, and when I discovered this, it was like, oh my God.
We've been touching on it with our community, but it is such a web that's woven above.
Yes, it's complicated to wade through it, all right? Because I've been wading through it for years and years and years, just getting little tidbits here and crumbs, trying to put the jigsaw puzzle together, okay? But then when I finally put it together, I was like, oh, there's no debt. There's no debt. So let's start off with the basics, okay? I say this a lot. I just want to wake people up. Money, okay, does not exist anywhere on this planet. We do not use money. Now, I'm going to give you an example of, this is a silver coin. It's real silver. This is money, okay? The reason why this is money is it's a combination of two things. A person's labor and a commodity of wealth or value, sorry, which is the silver. So that means someone had to dig the silver out of the ground, melt it down, turn it into this lovely shiny coin. That's the labor. The silver itself is the commodity of value, okay? Now, this is money because there is no third-party risk. Doesn't exist, okay? So we can trade. So let's say you've got something I want, and oh, you've got a lovely basket there, you know, some fruit in it. Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. I'll give you this silver coin for that basket of fruit. You go, that's the consideration in the contract. You go, yes, we exchange the items. You get the silver coin. I get the basket of fruit. Contract concluded. No third party involved. That's completely private trade. That's money. We do not use money anywhere on this planet. What we do use, a lot of people are waking up to this term, is what is called fiat currency. It's called currency because it's not money, so it's a currency. So fiat means by decree. And also, if you look it up in Black's Law Dictionary, it means fake. So it's fake money. Now, simply put, don't have to go into too much detail, but what you're actually using is IOUs. They're notes of debt, okay? In fact, if you get the average note, I've got one here. I've got a £10 note, which is the English IOU. I mean, technically, it's not even a promissory note. When you learn how to read, it's just a piece of colored plastic. But anyway, it says on there, I promise to pay the bearer of the on demand the sum of. So this is a contract then. This is an IOU. This is half of a contract, right? This is an IOU. So that's fiat currency. Now, this is what I discovered this a few years ago, this fiat currency, and it was debt. And I discovered the national debt, and I discovered the debt, global debt, and it's in the quadrillions now. And I was going, hang on a minute, if there's all this debt, I asked this question to myself, and I had to find the answer. Who's the creditor? Right? Now, this is the thing. You've got to learn this. This is basic economics. If there is a debt, there has to be a creditor. Has to be. There is someone giving the credit for that debt to be debt. Okay? So I needed to find out who the creditor was. And here's the thing. It's us, the people, individually. We're the creditors. And it's done through your birth certificate. So we go back to the birth certificate that we spoke about earlier. This is how it does. This is how it happens. So when you're born, your parents don't know this, all right? Your parents don't know this, but you go to a state hospital, okay? A state hospital, a maternity ward is a foundling hospital, a foundling ward. Well, what does that mean? It means it's a place where children are abandoned. So when you were born, because you were in state hospital, you were born in a maternity ward. There isn't ward, prison ward, should give you a clue what's going on. The parents don't know this. They sign the documentation, they sign all this registry, blah, 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 blah. The parents are tricked into abandoning their children in that ward. They've been abandoned, okay? The Vatican then scoops them up, puts them into a trust. And what they do is they create two birth certificates. One is the live certificate of birth. That's the one that most people know about. It goes in the catacombs underneath the Vatican. The stories are out there. That one goes underneath there. The other one is the corporation, okay? They create the corporation. That's your legal name. That's got the surname on it. That's not your name. That surname belongs to the Vatican, all right? So they've got one birth certificate, live certificate of birth, and then you've got the other one, which is the, let me just hold this up, just make it simple. Live certificate of birth, then they've created another one, which is your legal fiction, right? So now they're set. You are now abandoned by your parents. You're in trust to the Vatican, right? So, I mean, what happens as well is you are entered into a contract when you're newly born, because what they tend to do is they get your foot and they'll put some black ink on it and they'll press it up against a card. Yeah. Sometimes they'll prick the sole of your foot when you're newly born, some blood, again, place it on some card. That's a contract. So that's what they're doing, even though that you're under the age of consent. So I don't even know. None of it's valid, by the way. It's completely fraudulent. You've just been born. How can you enter into a contract? Anyway, so what goes on? Live certificate of birth that the Vatican has. This is your name, right? With this, they can create credit in your name. So think of it like a credit card. So it's like I go into a pub and I order a load of drinks, and then the barman says, who's going to pay? Well, no, I'm going to use your birth certificate and say you're going to pay because I've got your birth certificate. So I make you the creditor. Okay. So what the Vatican does is they make you the creditor. All right. Now here's the problem. Because you are the creditor, you create the credit, the Vatican is on the hook. They are now the debtors, or more likely it's the Rothschild banking system, actually, because they control the monetary system. So the Rothschilds, they are actually on the hook. Okay. They are the debtors. They have to pay you back. Remember, you're the creditor. So they have to pay you back because they're the debtor. You don't want to be the debtors, okay? They don't want to pay you back. So they trick you. And what they do is they create that legal fiction, your birth certificate, and that's a corporation, and they make that the debtor. All right, that's your live one. This is your dead one. They make you think that's you, right? They make that the debtor. So through your entire life, you're paying back your own credit. That's what's going on. All your bills, everything. So what does this mean? Every time you go for a loan, all right? So you want a new mortgage, you want to buy a house. You go into a mortgage company and you say, I need $250,000 to buy a house. That money does not exist, all right? Money in quotes, does not exist. They give you a mortgage contract. You sign it. Power in your signature is everything. That's what they want. If you sign something, you've charged a document, now it has value. You sign it. At that moment that you've signed it, $250,000, bing, is created in credit, okay? Now, within this mortgage contract, there's a little sort of legalese paragraph, and they say, would you like to become the debtor? Why you would ever do this is beyond me, because you've just created all the money. You're the creditor, but they're doing a bait and switch. They've switched you and says, would you like to be the debtor? They don't tell you this, but you sign it. No one reads mortgage contracts. It's too complicated anyway. It's written in legalese. No one does. So you go, okay. So you sign it. So you've just decided that you are now the debtor. So you have created the credit. Then that buys the house. The mortgage company is actually the debtor. They're supposed to pay you back. They don't want to. They've made you the debtor now. You're paying yourself back at interest. So they'll charge interest on the payments. Oh, this system. So there's no debt. There's no debt. You are the creditors. So going back to the mortgage thing, and you could do this with anything. You could do this with student loans, credit cards, and everything. All you need to do is challenge the creditor, right? Do it. Don't do it on the phone. Do it in the written. This is something we do on a Thursday night. I teach people how to do their own paperwork and do notices. By the way, on my website, there's a load of information on there, free download, shows you how to do a notice. Anyway, do a notice, challenge the creditor, and say, I need to know who the creditor is on these loans. Here's the thing. These mortgage companies, these banks, they can't tell you because it's you. So if they told you the truth and they went back to you and said, yeah, you're the creditor, you go, why am I making monthly payments then? So challenge the creditor on everything. I know it's a bit more complicated than that. We can, in this country, we have DSAR legislation, and we can play this game. So we can hit mortgage companies and credit card companies with DSARs to force them to give us the name of the creditor. So yes, challenge the creditor, and they are done. And if millions of us do this, that's it, game over.
So is there any other kind of contracts potentially that we've got to keep an eye out for? For example, when you were talking about just us paying tax anyways, and that it's voluntary, if we have our employment contracts, is that a way to sign us in? So obviously, do you see what I mean? If you have to have, like, as an employer, you have to provide those employment contracts. So we should be reading those more carefully.
Oh yes, you should. Now, this is what I do, is I teach people how to read. Okay, most people, 99.9999% of the people on this planet don't know how to read. Now, the average person goes, yes, I can. I can pick up this piece of paper. I can read this documentation. I go, well, hang on a minute. Do you actually know what the meaning of the words are? No, they don't. So, contract, and also most people don't even know what contract is. So people think they have a contract, and you go, you haven't got a contract. You've got a service agreement. Remember, a contract's got to have 2 signatures on it. This is why the system is so fragile. Got to get this information out to people, right? Everyone's panicking. And I go, no. You have a service agreement with 1 signature on it. That's yours. That means you control the document. So you go, I control this document. My signature's on it, not that corporation. Remember, the corporation, by the way, cannot act. Remember, it doesn't exist. Corporations are dead entities, legal fictions. Right? It is only the people behind the corporations that can act. This is something people have got to get in their minds, right? And this is why I always say, give you the name. So if you're at work, and I used to fight, I had loads of jobs. I used to fight my bosses and managers for years. I've been doing this for years. They used to get me to do things. I said, I never agreed to this. So this is old stuff to me. But I would find the name of the person. Who is it within the corporation is trying to make me do the thing? Get his name. Let's give him a name. It's Bob. Okay, Billy Bob. You're saying I've got to pay tax. Is your signature on this service agreement? I don't think so. So where are you getting the authority from where it says I've got to pay tax? So that's the first thing. Now, you've got to start learning some of the terminology. You don't want to be an employee. Remember, an employee is a legal term. An employee is taxable because you're an employee. You don't want to be an employee. No, thank you. I don't want to use that title. I'm not an employee. Also, you want to stay away with other terminologies such as salary and wage. They are also tax liable. All right. So if you use those, so this is why most people lose this game. So if you go to court and you're saying, I don't want to pay the tax, well, actually, you should never say, I don't want to pay the tax because you've lost already. But let's say you're challenging the obligation and you go into court. By the way, all the courts today, they're not courts of law, they're corporate and administrative, they're trusts, they're all operating a trust, they're all bank. Anyway, we all know that. But if you go in there and then the judge or the magistrate says to you, are you an employee of this corporation? And you go, yeah, okay. And is your salary £50,000 a year? You go, yes, it is. You've lost. You've lost. You've accepted the title employee and you've said, yes, I have a wage or a salary. They're taxable. So to get away from this is you say, you know, I don't want to be an employee. I'll be a subcontractor. Okay. And also, I don't want a salary or a wage. I want a fee. I'll charge a fee. Fees and donations are not taxable. Okay. You see, you cannot be taxed on your labor. That's slavery. Right. This is well known in America, you know, Constitution, all the rest of it. You cannot be taxed on your labor. So if you're going to work, you are obviously entitled and have the right to a fee. And you have the right to keep that fee 100%. So this is why these people within government and these bureaucrats, they change the terminology. They change it. They say, okay, well, what happens if you're an employee? What happens if you receive a wage? What happens if you receive a salary? And if you say yes, 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 well, that's taxable. That's how they get away with it, you see. So you've got to know the language. You've got to know the terminology. So yeah, that's what you need to do. And also what you need to do is realize that your boss that you're working for, he doesn't even have the right to take funds from your wage or salary. He's not a tax agent. Okay. He's basically offering you a free service. So this is what's going on. No one challenges it, but your boss is assuming that you would like to pay taxes, and he is offering you a service to automatically do this for you and then take the taxes out and submit it to the Inland Revenue, blah, blah, blah. And because everyone just thinks that's the normal way, no one challenges it. But if you turn around and say, no, 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 thank you very much, I don't want that service, thank you very much, I decline the service, pay me 100% in gross, I will handle all the tax. Okay, your boss has to do it. Okay, this is why you challenge the obligation. Because if they say, if your boss starts saying, no, no, I've got to take it out, I've got to do it, really? Give them a name, Billy Bob. Okay, show me the obligation. Where's the obligation? Then I have to pay tax. Can you do it, Billy Bob? I don't think you can. You're in serious trouble. I'm going to sue you, Billy Bob. You're stealing out my salary, in quotes. That's how you do it. And if enough of us do that, it's game over. It really is. So yeah, I mean, there's other ways you can do it. You can set up a family trust, a private family trust, have everything paid in there. You can say, I'll work for free. So you go to work, say, I want to work for free. I'm going to work for free. And all the money that you would be paying me, pay into this trust, 100%, all of it. And then you make yourself a better beneficiary of that trust. This is how the people at the very top do it.
Of course.
Heard of a foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We've all heard that. A foundation is a trust. That's all it is. So they don't receive any payments. It goes into the trust, but they're beneficiaries of it. So they just take the money back out again. It's like, oh God. When you know how the system works, I'm telling you, it's just like, it's a joke. It's a joke. But it's getting out there. People are
and thank you for taking the time to explain all of this. I think for anybody listening, you know, there's obviously a lot here. So there's, you know, so much to unpack. We're trying to like kind of squish it all into an hour to give everybody a bit, you know, a taste of what's, you know, what he teaches, what the Sovereign Project is about, your weekly events. And then maybe if you set up weekly Zoom calls, I can see a lot of people being interested in that. I'm interested, you know, if you did a weekly Zoom call that I could watch that would be recorded, cater to, and you know, probably many in this channel, although I don't want to speak until, you know, we you know, get this out and let it percolate for a while, and then we can into the website if they're more, you know, just things that take a little bit of digestion to understand, because we have to relearn everything. You know, you know, like ways of, you know, talking to a police officer. I think many of us, you know, myself included, would just hand over the driver's license, like go away, you know, because we're just comply and go away, you know. And that's, you know, I understand that will take a little, you know, a little bit of a learning curve to kind of understand how we would finagle and, you know, outside of that. And then really stand a chance, not be bullied into submission, because I think that would be the biggest. So I love what you're talking about. I mean, Vicki, is there anybody in the channel that has any questions? Because now would be the time.
Yeah, so let me just grab the first one from Womble. What measures can we take to get us into a private jurisdiction and as far away from the scumbags as possible, and not included in their stupid dictatorship measures? Yeah. So how can we start mobilizing, I suppose, is the question.
Okay, great. Here's the thing. You're already in your private jurisdiction. You're already in it, right? This is the mindset thing. You are in your own dominion, okay? You already have your own jurisdiction. Remember, sovereign makes the law. I have my court, all right? This is what we talk about on the Thursday night thing. You've got to get everything, you've got to pull everything back. So you become sovereign. What that means is you become responsible for your own life. You self-govern, right? You don't turn to anyone else. You become an adult at that stage. You stop being a child, you become an adult and say, I am responsible for my own life. That's all the decisions I make. Now, you have your own jurisdiction. You always have. It's just you were tricked into thinking you don't. So now you know that once you've got your mindset and realize that you are within your jurisdiction, right? It's like an invisible bubble. It's your dominion. If anyone comes into my jurisdiction, into my dominion, I make the law. That's how you do it. Now, once you've got your mindset right, you can start dealing with the corporate fiction. So I've spoke about the birth certificate. The birth certificate, by the way, is not yours until you claim it. You can claim it and then you can say, yes, it is mine. So at the moment, you are a ghost director of a corporation, okay? You've got to start understanding what's going on here. You have a passport, okay? That is not you. That is your corporation, all right? It's not you. You have a driver's license. That's not you. That's your corporation. You'll notice that your name will be written in all caps. All right, that's not English. That's a title. Okay, that's ASL, American Sign Language. That's block language. That's dog Latin. It's not English. All right. So, driver's license, not yours. Passport's not yours. It's your corporation. Here's the thing: your bank account. It's not yours. The bank owns it. Also, the administrator of that bank account is not you. It's your legal fiction, it's your corporation, right? So once you've got your mindset right and realize that living, breathing, I am in my own dominion, right? My own jurisdiction. Now I can play the game. So then I go, right, I understand that my driver license is not for me, it's my corporation. I'll treat it as that. So if I want to use it, I will use it. So it's a mindset thing. So one of the things you can do is understand that everything that you've got, all your passports, all the rest of it is your corporation. One of the things you can do is to turn your name into a limited company and then make it dormant. This is a little trick. So if you get any documentation from now on, if you get any documentation, remember it's not to you, right? You'll know most of it says Mr. By the way, don't use the word Mr. or Mrs. That's a title, but puts you into maritime law, mercantile law, and it's the lowest of the low of the titles. So never accept Mr. or Mrs. Right? So if you see letters come through to you and it says Mr. or Mrs., you can send it back on that. Say, no, that's not even recognized. Okay. Start treating it as a business, right? You're a director of a corporation. So you get documentation that comes through. If the last name is all caps, that's the name of a corporation. So now you can deal with it. Okay. You can send it back. So I don't recognize that corporation. Because I've got my name, it's registered as a limited company. So if I don't see limited at the end of my name, I'll just send it back. You've got the wrong corporation, that's not me, thank you. So you just play the game like that. And then you charge them an administration fee because you treat it as a business. It's a corporation now, okay, everything. So if it's like you can deal with bailiffs and all the rest of it, because the bailiffs knocking on your door, they're not after you, they're after the corporation. Now you know that, you can say to the bailiffs, okay, who is it you want to talk to within this corporation? And they go, what? Well, yeah, this is a corporation. That name on that piece of paper is a corporation. Who is it within that corporation you want to talk to? You can have so much fun with this, I swear. So,
I think
yes, you've in your own jurisdiction already.
The language, as you say.
Yeah.
We've got another question. What would happen if you were to come against a police officer only happy to lock you up for non-compliance? But again, I think that's the language, isn't it? So what we'd recommend is obviously go and spend time with yourself, Pete, and get on, because it's quite intricate. And I think reprogramming the brain, as we've gone through our chats and with our Telegram channel with silver and gold and the fundamentals, and looking at the banking systems and actually trusting true value of wealth and things. It's the same with this. It's reprogramming, God, like what you've grown up with forever, what you think you've known, and building the confidence behind using. I suppose when you have that first like I say confrontation, but that first time you use it and you get through and it works, it just snowballs from there.
You'll feel great. People have been coming to my Thursday workshop for about a year roughly. I started it last summer, and the people who started didn't know anything and they were living in total fear. Not anymore. They feel great. They know how to handle themselves, and we've had some wins. And these people have come back to me and said, we feel great. I stood up for myself. Fine. See, if you stand up for yourself, yes, at that moment, it's fearful. Absolutely. When you stand up to the bully, you think, oh, am I going to get beaten up here? Well, you still got to stand your ground. You might get beaten up, but at least you stood your ground. But if you win, you feel fantastic. And that's when you get your confidence back. But I just want to touch on that non-compliance. It's all in the language. Yes, if you do not comply, you will get locked up. Now, you've got to think about this. What's going on? See, the police will say, are you not complying? And if you say, I'm not complying, what have you just done? Entered into joinder. You've accepted the contract. That's how sneaky they are. They skip that obligation. That's really important. You've got to focus on the obligation. I can't, how the hell can I comply if I'm not even obligated to do the thing? That's how you've got to think of this. So yes, if you say I'm not complying, then you've said to the policeman that you should comply. Now you've chosen not to. Now you're in trouble because now you're in breach of contract. So never do this non-compliance. How it's like, how can I comply to something if I didn't even have the obligation to it? You see how that works? So that's what sovereign means. You challenge the obligation. How dare you? This is the attitude you should have. You know, how do you get off, you know, telling me what to do? Where are you getting this authority from? That's the attitude you have. Don't be the non-compliance. So a lot of people say, oh, this doesn't work because they've seen people who try to stand their ground and then they've been beaten up or, you know, arrested by policemen. But you have to listen to the language and spot the mistake. They will slip up, they'll answer a question, and that's it. And by the way, some of these questions can be very simplistic. The policeman could even ask you, oh, it's a lovely day today, isn't it? And you go, yes, it is. It's a lovely day. That's all they need. You've just answered his question. You've now consented. So don't. You've got to train your brain. Whenever he asks you a question, try and flip it and ask a question back. Here's the word asking. Asking as king. I am the king. I am asking the questions, right? That's how you've got to handle yourself. I'm asking the questions. So if the policeman says, oh, lovely day today, I go, what, are you a weatherman or something? I haven't answered. All right. Here's another one that might throw you out is like, you know, here's the thing. If the policeman says, can I see your license? And you go, let's pretend this is like, you go, here's my license. What have you just done? Entered into joinder. He wants to see it. You've handed it over. He has authority over you, right? Let's say, but you don't want to be awkward. Let's say you want to play the game. So what you do is you say to the officer, no, thank you, officer. Offer declined. However, would you like to see my license? Do you see how that's worked? Do you see how that works? You've done the same thing, but you have not entered into his jurisdiction, right? Now, if you should start asking him questions, because if you ask questions and he starts answering them, he's now in your jurisdiction. You control the situation now. So now I know it's difficult. All right. In the moment, you can use it. I'll put my hand up, by the way. I've lost my temper a few times with the police. All right. The last time I dealt with the policeman, I absolutely lost it. And I just told him, because I was fuming at the guy, but he got in his car and drove off. Handled it wrong, but at least I stood my ground. But yes, I know it sounds easy. You've got to try it out. Maybe get some friends together, role play maybe. We do this occasionally here where we are in Leicester on Thursday night. We've got a couple of ex-police that help. Brilliant. So yes.
And then I've got just one final question come through. And again, I think they're probably going to benefit from coming through on a Thursday, which is a great chat. Thank you very much. What can we say to an employer to not pay tax but keep our job? And do you have a template?
No template as yet. Now, we are creating templates. Now, here's the thing about templates is I'm very wary of giving away templates because this is what worries me. If I give a template to someone who has not got the right mindset, who does not know how the system works, right, they are going to be in a world of pain. It's like giving a 5-year-old a loaded gun. You don't do it. So the problem is a lot of people think it's the paperwork, right? So they go to the internet, they'll download something, a template, they'll sign it, send it off, and they'll have no idea what it says or why they're doing it, all right? So I'm very, very wary about giving away templates, okay? So dealing with the wage thing. We only talk about remedy and not solutions. We can't give answers because that's why we're talking remedies. There's too many variables for me to give you an exact answer. So we only deal in remedies, right? And people have got to know this game. You've got to play the game. There's a lot of toing and froing. There's no simple answers. There's no, can I just do this one thing? and then I don't have to pay tax anymore. No, it's probably going to take you 6 months or 8 months or even a year, back and forth with paperwork, all right? Some of my remedies have taken over a year. So you've got to learn the Thursday night. We do a 22-week, you got to learn it. You just got to put the hours in. You got to learn it. It's like playing chess. You've got to learn what the pieces do. Before you can play a game of chess, you've got to know what the pieces do. When you know how the pieces work, and now you can play the game, you can now deal with tax. All right? So the best way I would do it, I've got to talk in general terms. I really have. I can't give you an answer, but what depends on the boss. Is it a small business? Do you know your boss? Is he a good chap? Maybe you want to give him a letter rather than a notice. You can give him a letter and say, look, got a bit of a problem here. It looks like you're collecting tax without my permission, without my consent. You could be in serious trouble here, okay? So you can start a conversation if it's a small person. If it's a large corporation you're working for, go in a bit harder. Go with a notice. Go in and say, look, you could stipulate it. I hereby give you notice that I do not require you to act as tax agent for me anymore. Thank you very much. But please pay me in gross from now on. I will handle all those issues. Blah, blah, blah. Loves, hugs and kisses. So you've got to see what sort of reply you get. So you'll get a reply. This is why it's remedied. You will send off your notice. You'll get a reply, and then you'll read that, and then you'll craft your reply to that. And it's back and forth, playing games, okay? So you might get some questions back, and your boss might give some reasons why they don't want to do it. Well, if they don't want to do it, can you give me the name of the person by name? So if it's an HR department, get the name of the person who runs it there, the manager. And you say, look, I've sent a notice in, pay me in full from now on. You're not doing it. If you've got 30 days, otherwise I'm going to send you a notice of liability. Forget the corporation at that point. Corporation doesn't exist. It's that person who works in H&R. Billy Bob, give him a name. Billy Bob, I told you, I'll give you 30 days to pay me in full. You're not doing it. So I'm going to start suing you. And then you sue him. So enough of us do it. It becomes easier for the individual. It really does. But yeah, you've got to learn the game first before you start playing this. There's no easy answers, by the way, people. All right, sorry to tell you. You've got to learn it. And it's only the people who put the work in who's going to win this game.
Well, thank you. I mean, I feel like there's only one solution here, and that's that we need to all learn more. And I am very interested in whatever weekly Zoom might be available, because we could circulate here as well if you were interested. There just seems to be so much, and we could go forever, but I think we're pretty much at time. Is that right, Vicki? Are there any other questions?
No, that's it for questions, actually. Yeah. People are just saying about Thursday nights. I was just answering, oh no, that's us on at 8 o'clock, but not. You're in Leicester, aren't you, Pete?
Yeah, Leicester in England.
Yeah, but I mean, you're just collecting potential for Zooms.
Yes. I'll tell you what it is that, like I say, I've got a 22-week course, right? So with a PowerPoint presentation, there's handouts, all the rest of it, it's all done. All this documentation is on my website, by the way, for free. Now, the plan is, if people want to do it, I will give up another evening and I will do a live Zoom once a week, and there'll be a PowerPoint presentation. I'll be in my office and I'll go through it, and we'll start at the basics. We'll start at day one. I'll say like as if you don't know anything, and the first lesson, pictorial system, teach you how to read. And then we'll move up the ladder. So if you want to do it, register interest, and if enough people want to do it, I'll do it.
I'll just send your admin, pending what the channel says, if that's all right, and yeah. I'll register interest. So that sounds really cool. And even if you record, if we record it and make it available for people, because I know it's really hard to get everyone on one, but we do have a multi,
it is,
time zones, but that's all right. We'll do it. I mean, the interest is there, and I'm sure people would support and want to do it with you. So thank you for, offering. That's very exciting. And we really, really appreciate your time tonight. So again, anybody listening to this, just drop your interest in the thread, and I'll write his admin team and let them know that we'd be keen,
Yeah.
you know, to be whatever weekly call you do. And thank you again for blowing our minds, because that was
I just scratched the surface tonight.
yeah, it's really interesting. It's very fascinating. And I think if anything, we're all walking away saying, okay, where do we learn more? Because obviously there's a lot here we thought we knew, and then there's a lot more that we're going to have to really, you know, wrap our heads around. And it might take 22 weeks, you know, to get there. But I mean, that just be what we have to do. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, you know, resonate. We talk a lot about, you know, QE and fractional reserve banking, and then, you know, gold, Bretton Woods system, new financial technology. So, you know, I feel like a lot of the people that have been following Vicki and I in our discussions will be, you know, up to speed and, you know, have an appetite for this kind of stuff, definitely, which is probably why you were brought up in the channel to begin with. So thank you again for your time. And thank you for listening. I mean, we really are keen, and I definitely will stay in touch with your admin team to let them know.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
All right, but congratulations on your Thursday nights. And for anyone interested to going to these in-person events, check out the website. That was also left in the thread. And so for everybody, thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.